Switzerland is often imagined as a land of snowy peaks, luxury watches, fine chocolate, and secretive banks. But behind this peaceful image lies a story of survival, innovation, and strategy. What makes Switzerland's success so surprising is that it was never built on the usual foundations of wealth. It has no sea access, no major oil reserves or gold mines, no dominant language that unifies the people, and no easily defensible borders. For most of history, it was surrounded by larger and more powerful empires. Yet today, Switzerland is not only one of the safest countries to live in, but also one of the richest. To understand how this happened, we must go back more than 700 years. The birth of Switzerland. In 1291, three local leaders from mountain communities met in a quiet meadow. They made a promise to support each other in times of peace and crisis. What made this moment remarkable was its peaceful nature. At a time when most alliances were made through violence, bloodshed, or conquest, this agreement stood out as a cooperative and hopeful beginning. This pact is now known as the foundation of Switzerland. Just a few decades later, in 1315, the alliance was put to the test when Austrian troops invaded Swiss territory. The Swiss were mostly farmers, not trained soldiers. They had no real military strategy, but they used their knowledge of the land to their advantage. In a narrow path between two lakes, they ambushed the Austrian army in what became the Battle of Morgarten. Despite being poorly equipped, the Swiss forces defeated a much stronger and better trained enemy. Over 1,500 Austrians were killed. This victory shocked Europe and gave the Swiss a sense of confidence and identity. As a result of their success, more cities and regions joined the Swiss Confederation. Lucerne and Zurich became part of the growing alliance. Unlike other parts of Europe where single cities like Paris or London dominated the country, Switzerland developed as a collection of strong, independent regions working together, becoming a military force. Over the next few centuries, Switzerland continued to grow. By the early 1500s, the Confederation had built a reputation for being fearless and nearly undefeatable. Swiss troops marched into northern Italy and captured the powerful city of Milan from the French. Their military strength became the talk of Europe. But everything changed in 1515. In a battle near the village of Marignano, the French army fought back with force and defeated the Swiss troops. Instead of preparing for revenge or launching another campaign, the Swiss made a decision that would define their future. They gave up the fight, returned Milan to the French, and chose peace. What seemed like a defeat at the time turned out to be a strategic turning point. It marked the beginning of Swiss neutrality, the business of war and the rise of neutrality. Though the Swiss stopped fighting as a nation, they still had something valuable to offer: soldiers. For many years, Switzerland became known for exporting soldiers as a form of business. These weren't random fighters. They were highly trained battalions, experienced in working together. Swiss mercenaries were hired by kings and generals across Europe. Some were so good that they ended up fighting each other, on opposing sides of the same war. This practice continued until the 19th century, when foreign military service was officially banned. The only exception that remains today is the Swiss Guard at the Vatican, which still protects the Pope. Switzerland's choice to stay neutral didn't mean it was weak. In fact, it allowed the country to avoid the massive destruction that came with war. While other nations were spending money on armies and weapons, Switzerland focused on building peace, trade, and financial stability. Napoleon and the redesign of Switzerland. In 1798, the peace was broken when Napoleon and the French invaded Switzerland. They dismantled the old confederation and created a new centralized government called the Helvetic Republic. This system introduced the national flag that Switzerland still uses today. However, this political experiment was short-lived. After just 5 years, the structure collapsed, and Napoleon reformed Switzerland into a version of its old self, though more modern and unified. After Napoleon's fall, the Congress of Vienna in 1815 officially restored Switzerland's independence. Even more importantly, the major European powers agreed to permanently respect Switzerland's policy of neutrality. From that point forward, Switzerland stayed out of wars and focused on becoming a safe, stable environment for people and money. Building a nation. Around stability and secrecy. While other European countries pursued empires, colonization, and wars, Switzerland took a different path. Its leaders realized that peace could become their greatest export. By creating strong banking systems and protecting privacy, Switzerland became the perfect place for the wealthy to store their assets. In fact, Swiss bank secrecy laws were introduced more than a century earlier. These laws made it illegal to reveal the identity or account details of clients. This attracted royals, business people, and governments from across Europe who wanted to keep their money safe from war or political chaos. Switzerland also unified its economy internally. It removed trade barriers between regions, introduced a single currency, and allowed citizens to move freely within the country. While other countries struggled with divisions and delays, Switzerland was becoming a modern state, creating a unique government and identity. In 1848, after a brief civil war, Switzerland formed a new type of government, the Swiss Federation. It introduced direct democracy, a rare system where citizens vote directly on major policies rather than relying entirely on elected officials. This had several effects. It slowed down decision-making, but it also ensured that government spending was closely monitored and supported by the people. One downside was that some reforms, such as women's right to vote, took longer. Swiss women only gained voting rights in 1971. Despite this delay, direct democracy helped maintain political stability, which supported the country's financial growth and global reputation. The World Wars and Switzerland's role. During World War I, Switzerland remained neutral and even promoted its banking services to neighboring countries. Wealthy Europeans were looking for places to hide their money from taxes and the cost of war. Swiss banks offered numbered accounts, where clients were identified only by a code known to them and their bankers. In World War II, Switzerland again stayed neutral. However, its banks were used by both sides. They held stolen gold from the Nazis, while also storing assets for Jewish families fleeing persecution. Swiss banks became controversial for this, but they also became known for one thing: security. Germany considered invading Switzerland in 1940, but ultimately decided against it. The terrain was too difficult, the resources were too limited, and the cost too high. In preparation for a possible invasion, Swiss banks quietly moved valuables to underground bunkers in the mountains. If the invasion happened, the country planned to retreat into the Alps and fight guerrilla style. Switzerland avoided invasion and destruction. By the end of the war, its cities remained intact, while the rest of Europe was in ruins. Why Switzerland attracts global wealth. As the 20th century moved forward, Switzerland became a symbol of safety. Even though the United Nations was headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland did not officially join until 2002. It also refused to join the European Union, preferring full independence in making national decisions. This independence, along with its strong privacy laws, made Switzerland attractive to global billionaires. Swiss banks currently manage more than $2.4 trillion in assets, more than any other banking system in the world. Much of this wealth comes from countries like France, Germany, and Saudi Arabia. Wealthy people trust Swiss banks not because of high interest or returns, but because of reliability. Even when Swiss banks introduced negative interest rates, clients continued to store their money there. For many, the safety of their wealth was more valuable than growth. Innovation and quality. Beyond banking is not Switzerland's only strength. The country also excels in specialized industries. It is home to some of the world's best watchmakers, optics firms, pharmaceutical companies, and chemical manufacturers. Its cheese and chocolate are famous across the globe. Switzerland also developed several everyday inventions, such as aluminum foil, Velcro, and the electric toothbrush. Its trains are clean, efficient, and well-connected, helping support both tourism and trade. Today, Switzerland ranks among the best countries for quality of life. It has low unemployment, low crime, and high life satisfaction. Over 4 million tourists visit each year to enjoy its natural beauty and peaceful environment. The Swiss identity. Each year, Swiss citizens are asked what they value most about their country. The two most common answers are peace and neutrality. These two qualities have not only shaped the national identity, but also created the foundation for its remarkable wealth. Switzerland has shown that a small country, with limited resources and surrounded by giants, can rise by choosing peace, independence, and innovation. It is a reminder that real power does not always come from armies or empires. Sometimes it comes from the quiet strength of stability and trust. If you found this story of Switzerland as fascinating as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into countries, history, and how the world works. Your support helps us bring more content like this to life. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.